Welcome to the Inside Track on Real Estate with the Decker team. I'm Yetta Decker, and today I'm here with a new great friend, Beth. Hi, Beth.
Hi, Yetta.
Nice to see you again.
Thank you.
And Beth is here to share with us a little bit of her experience with the Decker team when recently we helped her sell her dad's home. And so, Beth, let's get right into it if that's okay.
Yes.
Perfect. So why the Decker team?
A couple different reasons. We knew you from church. We went to your church a while ago, and we're very quiet and timid, and you are not. So we knew going in there we would need someone who was more forceful than we are and who would fight for what is best for us, because that's just not our personality. So we prayed about it for a while and about who to have as a real estate agent, and all of our friends kept giving us recommendations. Check out this person. So we looked at each website and none of them felt right. And every time we prayed, you're going to laugh when you hear this, but every time we prayed, we kept seeing you and spiky hair. So we knew you were definitely the one. God
there are too many spiky hair realtor chicks out there, I guess. Okay, yeah. I didn't know that till right now. Yeah. So I don't know whether I'm embarrassed or...
Oh, no, it's a good thing.
Okay,
all right. That's what we kept hearing is just the hair and go with Yetta. She's got the personality that we need, because you would balance us out for where we're weak in areas of negotiating. We knew you would be strong. Wow. So that's what God kept telling us.
That's very cool. I like that. I'll have to. So if you're watching right now or listening, the spiky hair is good.
It is.
Yeah? Okay, good. So when did you know, because it sounds like you spent a fair bit of time making sure it was the right decision right up front. When was it confirmed for you, though, that, hey, this is... We don't have to second guess. We don't have to think about all the other recommendations or any of that. We just know that we know that we know we made the right decision. What was that moment?
Probably about 2 minutes after you came into the house and started looking around, and you weren't shy about saying what was good or what should be changed. And you knew all the statistics. You had the same plan that we had in terms of how to sell the house, and you just had so much background information. And from what we've heard from other friends who came in, they didn't have any of that. The agent just came in, talked a little bit and said sign the paper, and you had just so much that you told us about different ways to sell and what you thought would be best, which was exactly what we were thinking at the same time. So
that's
we knew that's exactly what God wanted.
That's very neat. So our priority, and I think you experience this, except I think it's good for everybody to kind of get a sense of that. Our priority is obviously taking great care of you and taking care of your best interest. How did you see that play out over the course of those, because it was only days, really?
6 days.
Yeah, once we got there.
It just went so quickly, and we couldn't have asked for anything better. We sold quicker than we wanted in a shorter time for far more than we wanted. There's just a lot coming in terms of emails. What do you think of the website? What can we add? What can we take away? So we really liked the involvement of that. Not just, I've got the website, I'm putting it up, and that's it. We liked that we had some say in it. If we needed anything for staging, it was there for us. There was always someone to answer questions. If you weren't available, someone else got back to us right away. So we just really liked that you're not waiting and waiting days and days to hear back from someone.
Yeah, that's not fun, is it?
No, it isn't.
No. So so you knew by us responding quickly that we had your best interest at heart. How else did it maybe play out for you?
I think just the whole team approach was really well done, because we knew someone who specialized in websites was doing website. It wasn't just someone who sort of threw something together at the last minute. It was very well done. Even the brochures that were handed out were far better than I've seen from other people I know selling their houses. And there was someone specifically for open houses who's very good with people and answering questions. So it was all those different components that really someone specialized in.
That's neat. It's nice for us, maybe nice for you as you're listening and watching too, to sort of hear what is the experience really like, because we know what we want to deliver, and yet we don't necessarily know how it shows up on the other side, right? So that's cool.
It's interesting because a friend of mine put her house up a few weeks before ours, and they've had nobody going through, heard nothing from the agent after they signed, and they said, is this agent even doing anything other than sticking a sign on our lawn? And I said, well, you should hear what Yet is doing. And I went through all the different things that have been done, and she was just amazed.
Hopefully her home is sold now.
No. They haven't had a single showing from the last time I talked to her.
Okay, well, yeah, okay. Well, let's hope that changes for her. So what was an experience that was the most memorable, besides the spiky hair?
I think meeting the people who bought the house, because ironically enough, I did not want to meet them, and I was very adamant that I didn't want to meet them, and you insisted that I should, and I'm so glad I did, because I had such a sense of peace meeting the people, hearing their story and the whole process they've been through for 2 years trying to find the house. And they're just really the exact type of family we would want in there. Even their personalities would fit in so well with the neighbors. And of course, the neighbors were very worried who would move in. And it was just such a sense of peace that it was going to be, the house would be looked after and that they would fit in well with the neighbors. Not only the buyers would fit in well, but the neighbors would get along well with them. So I'm so glad I met them.
Yeah, that's not something we always do. We don't always encourage the sellers to meet the buyers, and yet there are situations where something intuitively says to me, this is a time that you offer this. This is a time you encourage this.
And I'm glad you did. Such a sense of peace afterwards.
Oh, that's neat. Yeah, she was thrilled to meet you too, right?
Yes, we've had quite a number of notes back and forth since then as well.
Oh, that's cool. That's very cool. So what was the most important thing to you about the selling of your dad's home?
Really, we wanted it sold quickly. At this point in the neighborhood, most houses were taking 10 to 12 months to sell, and we knew as you know, our daughter's out of town for medical treatments. We couldn't keep going to the house every 2 days, shoveling the snow in the winter, mowing the lawn in the summer. We just could not do that. So for us, it was really important that it be sold quickly, and it definitely was. More than we could have ever anticipated.
Yeah, and I think it's important to just explore for a minute that selling it quickly didn't mean you sold it for less.
We got more than we were expecting, which was fabulous.
And maybe even more than we thought the market was going to provide for us, right? Like your
definitely.
expectations were very reasonable, and yet the market showed us by these other homes that were in the area that hadn't sold what wasn't the right amount of money for sure, right? What was not appropriate. And so you took great counsel, you accepted the counsel, and you looked at the data and you looked at the market information and you made great decisions based on that. So you made it possible, actually.
As we weren't stuck on getting a certain number, that wasn't our priority. It was more get the house sold, hopefully to a nice family who would really appreciate it and enjoy the neighborhood.
And then we still got the money.
We did.
Right, so
More
it's
than
not
we
like
thought.
right, so it's not like we left. It's not like we left that on the table.
No, it was, like I said, we were absolutely blown away by knowing what the house was worth and the value and just things that needed to be done in the house. It was far more than we thought we would get.
Now, from the whole Deckard team experience, you talked a little bit about the team and how they worked a little bit together. Can you elaborate a little bit more on that? How did you find they pulled together to make it work really well for you and Ian and Hannah?
It just all seemed to go seamlessly. Like if we had a question that one person didn't know, someone else would get back to us. And it was just constant contact. And I really liked that. Always knowing what was going on. And just that there were different people in charge of different areas, but they were very good at what they did.
Right. And then we still had some congruency where you could reach me anytime you wanted. You had my cell phone.
Yes, and email.
And email, yes, and we did do that as well, because I think that sometimes was your preferred method with running in and out of different appointments and having the things that you needed to take care of in life. That made it a little easier for you.
Yeah, so it was quite good. We were never wondering, is this person still in charge of our house or what's going on like other people I know have experienced. We always knew somebody was doing something somewhere.
And then you got told pretty quickly
yes.
what that was. Very cool. So in terms of communication, was there anything that you would say didn't happen that you wished had?
No, everything was actually better than we were expecting, so we were quite pleased with that.
So now that's an interesting piece. What were you expecting?
From other people I know who sold their house, and from when I sold my house 10 years ago before I got married, which I don't remember much about because we were doing wedding plans at the time.
Right.
I just remember I would hear from the agent maybe every 3 weeks. And usually I always initiated it. It took 3 months to sell the house.
Right.
And it was just a lot of, I always seemed to be the one who had to make phone calls and what do you think about this? There wasn't much coming through, and that's what I've heard from other people who have sold as well. They just the agent sticks the sign in the ground and then they don't hear anything for a while. And we didn't have that at all.
And is that what you were expecting from us when you first called? Just based on that was
knowing
your frame of
personality,
reference?
no, I knew we would be getting more than that, which is
Okay.
one of the reasons why we wanted to go with you. We knew that you are very good at communicating and that things would happen quickly.
Well, I'm happy you did, because it was a lot of fun.
It was. I wasn't expecting that at all with the multiple offers. I was actually very heavy-hearted for a while about that.
Right.
And it's been interesting how God turned that around.
Yeah, because you were, even when we were strategizing at the very beginning, I said, well, there's so many different ways we can do this, right? There's not just one methodology, right? Or one possible strategy. There's several strategies that we can use when we're selling a home.
Yes.
And we talked about the different ones sitting at that table. I think we spent 2.5 hours, maybe 3 hours that first day looking at all the options.
Yes, and which route should we go?
Right. And how did you end up making the decision as to which direction to go?
Well, we really felt God saying, and we heard you saying this as well, that offer a lower price and it will sell quickly. Hopefully with multiple offers, but we just kept hearing, trust Yetta, trust Yetta. And we said, okay, Yetta knows what she's doing, we'll trust you, and it was a phenomenal experience.
Well, I think the reason we chose that strategy for your neighborhood specifically was because we did have homes that had been on the market for a long time.
A very long time.
Still sitting there.
It's nobody going in from what I'd heard after the first initial few days.
Well, which usually the first 3 to 4 weeks is when we see the bulk of our activity in any home, right? Because everybody, and this is a great thing just to sort of understand, and I know Beth knows this because we sat down and talked about this a whole lot, is when your home first goes on the market is when everybody that's been looking and that is currently already an active buyer looking to find their perfect home, or at least an 8 out of 10. I tell everybody you don't get no 10s.
No.
You get 8s. 8s or 9s, generally speaking, right? And sometimes 7 is the best in certain given markets. Right now, with so much inventory, in fact, I don't think people are having to settle near the same way from a buyer perspective. And yet, by putting it at a high price in those first 3 or 4 weeks, you're still going to get some interest. You may even get a lot of lookers. You just won't get any offers. And in fact, the looking actually is reduced too as you price sort of beyond the market. Because what happens is there's so much information on the internet now, right?
Yes.
There's the
very
videos.
much so.
I mean, we've certainly been using video since it was truly the bleeding edge of technology. And also lots and lots of pictures, and then there's Google Earth, and then there's the bird's eye view, and there's just so much research we can do before we ever come to a home, right? So that many people don't end up choosing a particular home because if they can find something that isn't what they're after in all that information, then they wouldn't even bother taking a log. And so often we knew in that neighborhood that homes were already, they were great homes. Mature trees, mature streets, quiet
Nice
streets,
schools.
nice schools. I mean, lovely community right in the city and just off Walkley, and beautiful area. And unfortunately, there were still lots of homes that had been sitting. Some had already sold now, and yet others were still on the market, and for like a year.
Yes.
Right?
long
Like not a
time.
few weeks.
10 to 12 months, most of the
Yeah.
ones I knew that were
Yeah.
being sold.
And so we wanted to make sure that we didn't compete with that because we were just going to reproduce.
We would just be another one sitting on the same block waiting to be sold.
Yeah. And so often people will think that putting it on the market is the same thing as putting it in the market. And they're two very different things, because on the market just means you're there with everybody else, hanging around, having a good party, hoping
Waiting
that somebody's
and
going to come
waiting.
along and expecting, and kind of maybe expecting you're going to find that buyers that's prepared to pay more than the market would tell us it's actually worth. And that doesn't happen a whole lot today. I've seen on occasion where there's high demand for something and we sell it a bit over asking and a bit over market. That certainly happens, and I think that happened for us, and which is fantastic. And that generally is not going to happen, though, if you're already pushing the envelope from an asking perspective. If you ask too much, that's not going to happen.
No.
Because then the buyers that really ought to be seeing it never see it.
It's out of their price category, or they don't want to look at another one.
Right, and whereas the people that are seeing it are expecting more for their money if you have an overpriced property that's just sitting on the market. Yeah. So if you're just joining us now on the Inside Track on Real Estate, I'm Yetta Decker, and I'm with Beth, and she is one of our sellers that we just very recently helped sell actually her dad's home. So it wasn't even the home you were living in, so that was a little different navigating that. So if you haven't heard the first half of the show, you'll want to go back and listen to that and some of her neat insights, and thank you for joining us. And so, Beth, in relation to insights that you learned along the way, because you've talked a fair bit about what your other friends have experienced, and that it was really lack of communication and connection, probably the biggest thing, and just lack of knowing what was happening, if anything was happening. And I think they doubt, and you doubt, that anything really was taking place behind the scenes, right? So what would you want everybody to understand about the selling process?
It's not as scary as it seems. I think that's the first thing. And really find an agent who listens and works and isn't going to disappear, but is very proactive, thinking ahead, always trying to figure out what a buyer would want, and has all sorts of plans about what to do for that. And we definitely had that with you. Lots of great ideas.
And what I loved about you and Ian, and even Hannah was so sweet in the whole process.
She was.
She was darling. And Hannah's 7, so I mean that's a pretty interesting age, and she was so patient. She sat and she just looked at me as we would carry on and have yet another conversation about how to move things forward.
And she would stage the house as well, so she had a great time with it.
Yeah, which is really neat. Through that whole process, you guys were amazing at taking counsel and asking questions. You know, exploring, well, why would we want to do this? Or what does this look like? Or just that back and forth, and not just going, well, I know how to do this.
Yes, no, we have ideas. I mean, we've watched all the TV shows like everyone else.
You watch more than I do. You guys probably know more than I do. You should have told me how to do
my
it.
My husband is a contractor too, so
Right.
he deals with a lot of houses, and he has an idea of what would sell and what wouldn't sell, but he doesn't have the absolute knowledge. So he said, here's what I think we should do. So he did a lot of restorations, as he calls them, not renovations, nothing major, no bathrooms or kitchens, just really fixing things in the house that needed to be fixed. But he said, there's a few things I'm just not sure if it's worth investing time and money into, so we need to ask Yetta, because she knows what to do. And those are some of the things we asked about, the curtains and the gardens, and you gave us great answers and said, you know, really, if someone's coming in to buy the house, they're not going to care if the gardens are a little overgrown. And that was good to hear, because that's something that I thought would be a big deal, and I wasn't sure, and it really wasn't. And it was good for us, because it was less work. And
Well,
we
it was
could
a
focus
lot of
on
work.
other areas.
And her gardens were not overgrown to the point that it looked like a wheat field or
No,
a hay field
just a
or a
little
weed
bit.
field. It was just a little. So I think there's a limit to how far we have to go with things. I think if you don't do something, then it doesn't look like you care. And the beautiful thing with Ian and Beth is they were really meticulous about maintaining those things. So when Ian was talking about restorations, he's really talking about making sure that the maintenance items were handled.
Yes.
That everything was as it ought to be, not necessarily modern.
No, just fixing the plumbing, repainting, taking the carpets off the hardwood so that it would look clean and bright, rather than the purple and blue walls with brown carpet that was there before.
I wish we had taken some before and after, and unfortunately they didn't give me the privilege of seeing it all before.
There's a reason for that.
Well, I would have been good, though. I would have liked that. So I loved how you guys worked. We worked together as a team to create a plan, create a strategy, and then to implement that plan and strategy. We worked within sort of the timeline that was going to work based on what was going on in your world. And I think that's an important piece that I have to always remember. And you can speak to that a little bit. How did us working within your time frame help with what was already going on in your world?
Well, it was really good because we knew we needed to get the house on the market soon, and we've been working on it almost every day for 6 months already at that point. It was just time consuming, but we knew with my daughter's appointments coming up out of town soon, we needed to get the house on the market, and we need to do it soon. So we got as much done as we could, brought you in and said, what else do we need to do? What can we leave? And that was good for us to hear, just little things to do, nothing too major, and the other things, don't worry about them.
And it turned out to be truth.
It did, and we got it on right around the time we were hoping for, and it sold extremely fast.
So from the experience of selling that whole multiple offer thing, when did you feel comfortable and when did you feel uncomfortable? What were those moments that were sort of truth-telling?
It was a huge roller coaster. I think you called us on a Saturday after the open house, which would have been day 4, day 5 it was on the market, and said we already have 3 offers. So we were so relieved and so happy. But then the next day, huge feeling of dread, just because I know people who've been on the other side of multiple offers, and one of them was up till 12 or 1 in the morning in front of the house with her agent and the other couple they were competing against, and she was in tears the next day because she didn't win. They lost the house. And I know how horrible it was for her, so it was a really big burden on my heart, knowing that we're going to have to say no to people, and some people it's not a big deal, but for others this could be their big dream, and knowing that that power was in your hands. So it was really a horrible feeling. I was quite sad for 2 days about it. And we just prayed and prayed and prayed and asked God to give us wisdom about which one to choose, and just to help the people who would not get the house, that they wouldn't be too upset or heartbroken. And then the day that we took the offers, we had an incredible sense of peace. It kind of went from one extreme to the other. And we were able to make the decisions without too much emotion, which for me was the big worry, because I'm so emotional, and I knew there were letters that people had written to me, and I knew that would probably affect my decision. So my husband, who was not at all attached to the house, came in, and he was kind of the rock who would say, okay, this one's good, this one isn't so good, this one has a really big emotional letter, but consider this from the other people too. So it was actually a fun experience in the end. It kind of went from dread and sadness to excitement.
That's cool.
I know. It was an interesting roller coaster.
And it wasn't until midnight, right?
No,
we didn't stay up doing any of that.
I think it was between the time we got the offers and decided, it was 45 minutes. And I had come with snacks and food for myself, games for my daughter, because we'd have to pick her up from school, expecting to stay for hours. And I remember looking at my watch going, it's 45 minutes and we're done? How is that possible?
Well, I think what you don't get to see, which is what we want to not have our client experience, is the 3 days or 4 days that I was already working on putting it all into space, right, or into place. And so we did have the threat. I'm going to call it always the threat, because until I received the offers, it just feels like a threat. We had the threat of 8, actually 9 offers, and at the end, when we were able to present, we had 6. And 6 firm, written, solid, all very good. There was nothing bad in the bunch, which was fantastic. And we did delay offers, so that is why we waited until the Tuesday. And I think we set up our appointment at 3-ish.
Somewhere around there.
Around
mid
there?
to late mid-afternoon.
Yeah, mid-afternoon, and just simply invited people to either send in the offers, and we would leave them sealed. So we're very careful when we're receiving multiple offers, because sometimes some of them, in fact, are ours, right? And so we want to be very careful.
That was the case with one of them, I believe.
Yeah, so from our company and or from our team, and so we want to make sure that we treat everybody above board and very respectfully. So we put everything in sealed envelopes, and in fact, I was looking at them when I was looking them at with you, right? And I do have a checklist, and I write down the highlights on it so that it's very clear. I didn't just throw them at Ian and say, hey, read these and see what you think.
We had a list too where we kept track of them all and wrote things down as well, so we could organize which offer was associated with which conditions or
and which letters, and
that was on there.
And we have a form that we pre-print for that, right? So that made it easy to sort of keep it organized.
Yes.
And then I did have the opportunity to go back and forth and chat with everybody.
You
Because
did.
some of them were in different rooms. So we had everybody lined up in the offices along the wall, and we hid you out in the back so nobody could find you.
That's great.
Yeah, we were in one of the back offices where we normally don't take our clients, and yet in this case it was the perfect fit, right?
It was.
To hide out back there, and we could slide in the back door. So we
Yes.
didn't even have to walk past everybody, and you didn't have to.
Because I didn't want to see who was there, because I didn't want to be influenced in any way by who I saw, or if they had a family, if they were older or younger.
Right. And so we kept you sheltered from that.
Yes.
Until that very moment when we knew this was clearly the best opportunity. And the neat thing often with multiple offers, 1 or 2 or 3 people will do a pre-inspection.
Yes.
So we already knew that there was not going to be a building inspection or a finance condition on some of the offers, so that things were very clean. And so we made the house very accessible. You guys made the home very accessible for people to come in and do a thorough investigation before they presented their offer.
Yes, one actually came in the morning that they did the offer. They were there, I think it was 8 in the morning, and then did all the inspection, and then the offer came in.
Yeah, so that's very cool.
It was.
So Beth, before we say bye for now with our viewers and our listeners, what's the one thing you want to leave them with?
I do have a funny story.
Okay, go ahead.
This is one of the great things about why we wanted to choose you, is because we are very quiet. And I remember getting an offer and thinking, well, this is actually really good. And before I'd even finished reading it, you said, that's really good. I want more. And you zipped out of the office, came back 5 minutes later and said, I've moved the date up and you've got more money. And I remember thinking, wow, like I was okay with what we had, and you took that extra mile and went and did more. And we were really impressed by that. So that's exactly why we wanted someone who has that, I don't know what the word is, chutzpah, to be able to go and do that, because we're so quiet and timid, we would never do that. And it was wonderful, because the closing date, the new one, actually worked out so well, and it was just wonderful.
That's cool.
It was.
I love this. Is awesome for me because I get to hear the real stories, because we don't do this otherwise, right? We don't get to hear a lot of what really went on, right? We just know that we did our utmost.
And it just confirmed for us that we definitely made the right choice.
Right. Well, yeah, I'd like to go back and see if we can't just get a little bit more if it's out there. If it's not out there, well, then there's nothing we could do, and sometimes it is. So we want to make sure that you have an opportunity to either work with us as a selling agent, and the whole team, we all have expertise in that area. We've got, I guess we're getting up to 60, 70, 75 years worth of combined experience. It seems to be growing like crazy. And so we are here to help you. And we have an amazing property, actually, not in the same neighborhood as Beth's right now for sale, that we want to share with you. It's one out in Osgood, and it is only $297,500. Single family home, single car garage, beautiful yard. I mean, the yard space is what is going to thrill you. It's just so inviting and so charming. And in Osgood, the amazing thing is, as long as you're within the village core, you can walk to all the village amenities. The school's great, the library's awesome, there's soccer fields for the kids, there's hockey rink, there's ice arena, there's the medical center. There's really everything you need from day to day. You might want to go into town to buy your clothes, and beyond that, you've got everything within walking distance, biking distance. You don't have to get out the car if you don't want to. So if you're interested in that property or anything, or want to give us a call and have us give you an opinion on the value of your home, or help you get organized about buying a home, reach us at 613-860-4663, 613-860-4663. Operators are standing by now to accept your calls. No, thanks a lot. Thanks for joining us on the Inside Track. I've always wanted to do that. I've never done that before. That was awesome. Anyway, thank you, Beth.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.